Hello and welcome to my show, The Awakening, here on WGSN-DB, the Going Bold and Going Solo Network. The information and opinions expressed on this show are just that, the opinions of individuals speaking based on their individual personal experience. They are not intended to diagnose and do not constitute professional advice or recommendations. So, you know the stress that divorcing men and women go through, that overwhelm and the unpeace that they have? Well, you can find that peace and sanity, all while assisting your attorney. This saves you thousands of dollars and hours of stress. My name's Tina Huggins. I'm your divorce coach specialist, divorce planning specialist, restorative family mediator, and conflictual co-parenting coach. And I want to welcome you. And so today I'm graced with Dr. Annika Sorensen. Dr. Annika is a medical doctor, stress management mentor, author, and international speaker. She specializes in health and stress strategies with a solid Swedish public health care background of 35 years. With profound personal, clinical, and scientific knowledge about the subject of stress, Dr. Annika has made it to the TEDx stage twice. Dr. Annika is certified by the Big Talk Academy and the author of two top-rated books on stress management. Take Stress from Chaos to Calm and My De-Stress Diary. Today, Dr. Annika helps C-suite executives master their stress to become a more effective, impactful leader, be more productive, and increase the bottom line without burnout. She does this all through speaking, workshops, online courses, and mentoring. So welcome and thank you for being here, Dr. Annika.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, we were talking before this. Poor Dr. Annika, she hasn't felt good this week. They're dealing with some illness in the household and she's in Sweden. So they have summer colds just like we have summer colds. And so we were talking about, our topic for today and the stress and because Dr. Annika has actually been helping me along my stress level path, I should say, because as most of you probably know, I lost my husband we're a week away, not even a week, less than a week away from a year ago. And so I've been going through different stressors. And one of the things that I deal with, and these are the things that Dr. Annika can help me deal with, is that when I go through stressful situations, depending on how the stress affects my nervous system, I break out in rashes, in boils, in hives, and even in other like tears and lesions that sometimes happen around my mouth or up around my hairline, and it causes distress on the skin. And I broke out here this month off and on all month. And so stress is something we all deal with. And then those of you going through divorce, you know how bad stress can get. So Dr. Annika, kind of tell us a little bit about why you chose to specialize in stress.
Yes, like you said, I've been working as a family practitioner most of my life in the Swedish healthcare system. And as I had 3 teenage kids at home and full-time work, I was very close to reaching that stress wall myself. And I realized I had to do something. So I took a course in stress management to help myself. That was my only purpose. And when I started to see what it is, what the biology is, and going back in my own life, I realized that I had the biggest stress management teaching right when I got my medical exam. I was just about to go out and start working and helping people. And at that time, I lost first my brother, 31 years old, and 1 week later, our firstborn baby, she was 10 weeks old. And I was totally devastated. And that's where I pulled myself together with help. because you need help in these situations, whatever it is. You need to get help from someone outside. So I got help, and I started to realize that I had to take good care of myself to be able to go on with my life. And that's where I started to learn about stress management and how to deal with it. And I had been doing that all these years without really knowing that I was a stress management coach for myself over those years. And of course, probably for many others, uh, because of the way I was living my life and my doing and how taking care of patients and so on. So, and that's when so taking this course, I realized I have to do this more or less full time. I still work as a doctor every now and then because I like doing that, and I want to keep up with the knowledge and what's going on in life and how people, what life is out there. So it's a long journey that I didn't know that got me where I am today. And I usually say to people, it's my favorite subject. Stress is my favorite subject. And they shake their heads and say, she must be crazy. And I say, no, I'm not. I'm very normal. I take a deep breath and go on.
Yeah, I actually have studied natural health from a natural doctor's perspective, and one of the very first papers that I wrote was on stress and how stress affects us. And back then was before I started breaking out in hives and going through those types of stress things. We just don't realize, how stress can affect us. I mean, it can affect our sleep, it affects our weight gain, it affects our mental cognitive aspects, it affects our eyesight, our hearing. I mean, stress affects everything. And ultimately, coming from a natural standpoint, stress causes inflammation, and inflammation is the root of all distress.
It is. And also what people don't know, and I mean, as a doctor, you kind of know all these things. The stress reaction is a normal biological reaction, and you can't live without it. People think that there would be a pill to take and all the stress hormones would go down to zero. And if they go down to zero, you're dying, you're dead, because you can't live without them. That's just the fact. You can't argue about that. And so you have to learn how to become friends with your stress system. That's what I am working on now with my clients and with everyone that I talk to, more or
Yeah,
less.
yeah,
That you have to find how do we function, and when you know how we function, it's so much easier to react or act in the right way and not go into tantrum or in the loopholes and all that things that so many people go into because they don't know how to deal with it.
right, right. Yeah. So tell us then, Dr. Annika, how do we make friends with our stress?
Yeah, how do we make stress?
That's a great question.
That's a very great question. Well, first you have to accept this is a system that we got as human beings around, say, 200,000 years ago. No one knows exactly, but when we became the people that we are today. And we have the same stress system today as we had then. There is no real evolution on us. The society is totally different because that was on the savannah with the wild animals, and it was eat or be eaten and finding food and security for the night and all those things. And that we were not up at night because you could not hunt in the day, in the nighttime, so you were sleeping, and in the daytime you were searching for food. Today there is a society of 24/7 and totally wrecks all these systems that we have. So first you have to accept that we do have a system that is an old anxious thing, and we want to do the changes. And we also have to accept that only I can do my changes. No one else can do any changes for me. I have to do whatever I need to do. And when you have found out or accepted, okay, I do want to do something about it, then you have to get energy to get to be able to change, because it takes energy to do things differently, and you need to do things differently, because if you do things the same way as you always done, you're going to get the same result: more stress, more stress, more stress. So you kind of to find a way to get out of the hamster wheel or the rat race or whatever you would call it, you need to get more energy than you have on a basic level in your ordinary life. And here comes the thing that people think is silly or whatever you would call it. But to get the energy, there are three main and one extra thing, and that is sleep well, or take care of your sleep, take care of your eating, take care of your physical activity, and friendship. Those are the four things where you can get energy. Just it's my flu thing. Sorry. And most people think that, well, that's just not ordinary things. That's nothing. Come with a better idea. There are no better ideas. To get that energy, you have to take care of your sleeping, you have to take care of your eating, and you have to be active in physical activity. And having good friends also brings energy. When you have the energy, then you can start looking at, what on earth do I need to change? You look at, this is how it is right now. No judgment. This is how it is. It may be really bad, but you're not going to put on your judgment. You're just going to say, this is how it is. I don't like it, but this is how it is. And this is how I want it to be. And that goes for the money situation, for friendships, for closer relations, for hobbies, for work, for where you live, for all the things in life. It goes the same. It's the same question: where am I today? Where do I want to be? And from there, you need to start taking steps. And oh, sorry,
We have to go through that when we're not feeling well.
2 seconds. Think I don't want you to hear the worst part. Anyway, you have to get the energy to be able to do these changes. And all of this, the getting energy, the doing the changes, is all mindset. It's all something I need to do. I need to understand it. You're not going to eat different unless you tell yourself. You're not going to go for a walk unless you tell your feet to go. You're not going to try to sleep better unless you work on your mindset on how you sleep. And you're not going to get good friends unless you are mindful of who you are and how you do things. And also the first step, that's mindset. You have to decide, I want to do this. And then the mindset, this is how I get the energy. And then you have the mindset, I need to do these changes to get a different life. And that's where you tell yourself, how do I want to live my life? And that's where you become friends with your stress system.
Yeah, I know this month has been kind of off. I had a routine going and everything got into place and I was doing really great in April and May, and then June got here, and I've just kind of been offbeat all month on June. And those are things that I tell my clients we have to do. And I know when I don't work out, specifically cardio is the most important thing for me, just getting that blood flow in my lungs to move. When I don't do any cardio work, then I just feel lazy. I feel like I don't want to get up and work out. But if I do a really good workout today, tomorrow I wake up with energy, you
Yeah.
know, and I finally started eating more healthy in May. I finally started cooking. And for me, I was having just the most difficult time with the food aspect. I would go buy it and it would just go bad because I didn't want to cook. So I started ordering meal prep kits from Home Chef, and for me, it was like perfect because I didn't have to think about anything. I just put it all together, followed the instructions, and it's been heaven. It's helped me to eat a healthier life or healthier meals. And now I'm sleeping and my workouts are finally starting to come back. So I'm finally getting back to normal. But I think the problem that I have had, and most people have, is once we get to going really good, we fall off the wagon and then we just wash our hands of it and we're like, it didn't work. But it's just, you just fell off the wagon. That's it. You
Yeah.
just get back up.
It's consistency. I mean, not it's not going to happen anything the first week or first month even. No, no big things. But if you're consistent, you're going to feel so much better and things are going to change. And if you do changes that are good for you, other things will come too that you might not have thought of, or that you also want to change, but take it in a later stage, but they will come because of your changes. And it's also a lot about how you appear in life, because all all emotions are contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Bad
Mm-hmm.
emotions, angriness, bitterness, everything is it sticks on people who comes near. So does happiness or smiles or joyfulness. That sticks on people who get by. And because you pick up what you feel from others. And if you are in a group where everyone is grumpy and complaining, you will be complaining even if you don't want to. Even if your mindset from the beginning was, I'm not going to be complaining, but after a while you can't really resist it.
Right.
And
Right.
all of these things that we do and how it works is from back 200,000 years ago, when we became the people that we are today. And like I said, we can't really change that part. We can change our way of handling it, and handling it in the life that we live today, in this 24/7 world, and decide, okay, I'm not going to live the 24/7 world. I'm going to sleep at night because I know I will feel so much better from that. I'm not going to eat all the junk food that is fed us from all over. I am going to be careful of what I put in my mouth, and I'm going to do it on a regular basis because I know that I will feel better when I do that. And when you've done that for a while, it will be something you really want to stay with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I think back as you're talking, 200 plus thousand years ago, whatever, with the caveman type people, um, how there wasn't things back then that caused inflammation, like poor diets cause inflammations today, boxed foods, McDonald's, those types of things cause us to have inflammation. And back then they didn't have that. So the things that caused that was things that happened over the course of human history. And we end up with bad foods. We end up with back then we had to get up, we had to hunt for food, we had to kill the food, we had to do those things, which was our physical activity. Nowadays we have to force physical activity in the form of running or things like that because our lives, like mine, definitely is very sedentary. I sit here in front of my computer all day long, and those are unhealthy for my bones, my ligaments and all of that. And that's where inflammation starts causing problems. We see it with the heat, our ankles start to swell up, our feet start to swell up, and that inflammation, if we don't drink our water, which is the biggest part of that, then we have issues as we move forward. And with my divorce clients, that's one of the things I always ask them, what's your self-help routine? Like I have one client, I give her homework every session about what she needs to do to take care of her next or tonight or this week. And it's all about, sleep. She is lucky enough to go to Hawaii. She's got property in Hawaii. I tell her long walks on the beach, and she will drink wine. And I said, you can have a long walk on the beach with a fancy wine glass and just hold that wine and sip on the wine and listen to the water. And those types of things are so, so important for our mental health, which is the stress, and it's where stress starts to cause us problems, is up in here.
Absolutely. No, the life we live today is not, we're not made for that. So that's why I tell people you have to get to become friends with the system. This is how it works. If I go as it works, I am going to feel so much better. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to have more energy. I can do more things, and I will be happier. And things like a divorce, I mean, a divorce can be extremely hard. And with economic problems and children problems and all of those things. And in those situations, the more you have the possibility to take care of yourself first in a good way with a coach or with someone holding your hand, then you are going to be able to go through that divorce in such much better way and so much easier. I'm not saying it's easier, but easy, but it's can be easier.
Hmm.
And you will make more rational decisions and not just jump on whatever when the anger comes, you do all these things that you regret afterwards.
Hmm. I know that right after my husband died, I sat on the couch for probably 2 straight months. I would get up and do very little, and I dang sure wasn't eating. I don't think I cooked the whole time after that. I don't think I cooked one meal. I would go out about every second or third day and go get something to eat, sometimes from the deli, but I was craving chicken. And that's all I really wanted to eat was chicken. I'm still not quite to where I'm hungry for vegetables, and that's really rare for me. I can just eat a huge big bowl of steamed broccoli or peas, and I have not craved that. My body has needed the protein, and it has craved, which is not healthy, the carbs, the refined carbs. So that of like Chex cereal or things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not eating or drinking milk, but I'm eating a lot of cheese, which can also cause issues. But those are the things, cheese and chicken. So I've had to incorporate the vegetables into my meal so that I'm getting them with my meal. So it's all a deal.
Yeah, and that is as a part of becoming friends with your system is that you know that you need to do that and you do put the piece of it even if it's not perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be every day, but it has to be in the long run and on the main scale, so to speak. So if you care for yourself in a good way most of the time, you can eat candy or chocolate or have a drink or whatever every now and then, but not every time, every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I do eat like one square, sometimes two squares of dark chocolate. It's the only thing um that I tend to eat on a regular basis that has sugar in it. Other than that, I don't I don't even carry sugar in my house because it's just not something I use on anything for anything. Sometimes I would use it on strawberries, but it's very rare. I want to go back to something you said in the very beginning of our talk. You said that you went through the stuff, the loss of your brother and then your child, and you were going through school. So there was lots of stress and everything at that point. And you said that you reached out for help.
Yeah.
I think that is the most important thing that I have done since my husband's died. I've reached out to you, I've reached out to my therapist, I've reached out to Father Raphael. I've just gone through so much of reaching out and talking to people so that I have that you talked about the friends, the connection. I do know I need physical, face to face, like I can feel the energy of the human. I do know I need that.
Yes, and we do need that as human beings. We are still animals on the savannah. We That's who we are. So we do need. And also you said you reached out to friends and to others, and we do need, when we need help in a really serious okay, what is happening or whatever you would call it, uh, like when I lost my two dear ones, I needed to get help from someone who was not part of my life because they are biased. They can be the kindest, the best advisor, and so on, but they would always be a bias thing towards me. So you need to have someone that is outside your life.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
it's good to have friends that can support you. And I remember at that time when I walked on the streets in my town, people went over to the other side of the street for a long time. And it was terrible because people didn't dare to meet me. People that I thought were my friends,
Yeah, because they don't know how to handle, and that's,
they don't know what to say. And,
yeah.
they cannot help you. So you need to have someone who dares to hear what you're talking about, because it's very scary when someone comes and say, well, I lost my brother and my baby from two totally different reasons within 1 week. That is not normal. And that is very scary. And then you need to have someone who can sit there and say, I hear you.
And I think in divorce, it's even worse when you have a friend or family member
Yeah,
that's so biased because you
because
talk,
there are two sides.
yeah, because you talked earlier about how emotions are contagious.
Yeah.
When you spat out all the crap that you're going to spat out about your soon to be ex and they agree, then you have this bonfire within just minutes. And
Yep.
that is not going to
Lots of
help your.
emotions.
You're going to want to drink. You're going to want to do all kinds of negative stuff just because of that conversation. So I tell people, if you're going to talk to your friends or your family, make sure you tell them that you just want them to listen. You don't want them to take sides. You don't want them to make suggestions. You just need to defrag this little situation and then go out to dinner and enjoy a good laugh.
Yeah, we can talk about all the good stuff, all the other things in life, because there is so many other things. And exactly. And that's why you need to have someone outside who can hear and who can say, okay, she thinks that this man is a monster, or vice versa, this woman, uh, but that doesn't affect me as a coach or a mentor. I can hear what she or he is saying, and I can kind of sort it and put the right questions in there, and that will help the person to actually think, what am I saying? What am I thinking? What am I believing? What are my feelings?
Yeah, yeah. And that's huge and very important because, we'll go back to the exercise and everything. I just recently talked on another podcast about porn addiction. And one of the things that's so important for stress and things that cause distress to our body, like a car accident or the loss of loved ones like you and I've experienced, is we do need to talk about it. Sometimes therapists are not the best place for some of us to talk to about it because we don't need to dig. In fact, digging in my case with my clients only makes things worse. We just keep bringing up more garbage and more garbage that we have to deal with. Can't as a mediator, I always say, I can't mediate the past. All I can help you do is set a foundation for your
Yeah,
present and work up. But when we talk, there's also that part of exercise. So in natural medicine, our memories, our distress situation, the loss of my husband and the loss of your brother and your baby found its way to a body part. It locked itself somewhere in your body. And in this case, it can be locked now in your legs, but it's more than likely in the hips and in the low back. And if we don't do some physical activity to deal with that, then we're going to hold on to it. And so when I was talking about the porn addiction, I said, first off, they need to find a coach, somebody that can help them through that, because that is something that's very difficult to break. And in certain religions, it's very taboo, so nobody talks about it, and it makes it even worse. In the Catholic religion, what is wonderful about that is they have to confess. So they go into the confessional and confess. So they're talking about their issue. And then the father gives them their prayers and tells them how many times to go and say their prayers on the rosary, and they're using their hands to go across the rosary. And that, although is small motion, is still motion enough to get the brain. They've talked, and now the brain is moving through everything, and they're talking about their prayer. And so it's just so important. Like Dr. Annika is explained, you have to have the food, your diet, you have to have your sleep, you have to have your friends. She talked about that, and the exercise. So friends are about talking and laughing, and exercise is removal of that. And having Dr. Annika as your stress doctor, you're talking to her, you're learning and you're growing. So these are super duper important things.
yeah. And like exactly like you said, therapy can be almost harmful in the wrong way, because if you just keep digging and digging, it's not going to move you forward. What you need to have, okay, look back, what happened? And well, we don't want that to happen again. What are we going to do to move forward? So that's what I learned from my journey. It was I was going to start working as a doctor. I had no clue. What am I doing? I'm I've studied so much. I had all this knowledge, but I didn't have the how to really, because I was just starting off. And I had this really big hurt in my
Mhm.
bones. Uh, but I had to look forward. I had to have help, and I worked actually in a family practitioner place right then, the first place where I worked, and they were the kindest people. They said, "Okay, you can have 2 patients a day. We help you with everything," and I could take one step at a time, and then I could move. And then after a couple of weeks, I took 3 patients a day, and then you add it up, because I got the help and I could move forward and see forward and be helped forward. And sometimes you have a backlash, because there were, of course, patients who came with stories that affected my heart. because of whatever they said that touched me because of my brother or my baby. So it was not all the way up. It was up and down, but it was upwards and forward, because you need to go forward. And I don't call myself today a coach. I call myself a mentor, because I use my medical knowledge in my coaching. So that's why I call myself a mentor, because I actually do help people to think of what's best from a biological perspective.
Yeah. And I don't like the word coach anyways, because it just seems like everybody gets trained and then they're trying to help you with things that maybe they're not trained enough on helping. Like if I'm going to go to a coach on stress, having a doctor that has been trained in stress is a whole different, person, a whole different realm of somebody to go and get help with. So I think that's super important. I do feel, the process, you talk about how it's up and down, but you have to go forward. So I tell people this all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your husband died." And then it's like I almost have reached that part that I get tired of telling people, just because I'm like, "No, no, I'm not trying to draw you down. I'm done getting drawn down. It's time for me to move forward." And I tell them, I'm here. And the only way out is through. I have to keep going. It's the same with divorce. It's the same with stress. It's the same with loss, the loss of your brother and your
Mm.
baby, and the loss of my husband. The only way out is to keep going forward, to go through it.
Yeah, and it's the same where I work mostly today in business leaders. It's they can sit and dwell for hours about how bad things are, but that's not going to help anybody. You have to see, okay, this was it. It wasn't really good. We don't want to be there, but how do we move forward? That's what I want. And then I, from my perspective, see this is a more biologically correct or gainable, or whatever you would call it in English, way than doing it that way. But okay, you choose. So if you think that way is best for you, go ahead. I'll hold your hand, and we'll take one step at a time, or they take one step at a time, and I'll just kind of help them to stay on track, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of where I've been. I didn't talk with a therapist or Father Raphael for 2 weeks. And it was interesting because I didn't notice it right away. But when it got close to my appointment with Father Raphael, I um I was like, oh, not talking with anybody. That's why this last 2 weeks hasn't gone great. It was just upheaval, disruption. I couldn't work out. I wasn't sleeping great. My diet wasn't great. It's like, oh, having an accountability partner, having somebody to talk about the issue is really good. But like when we talk about therapists, and not all therapists do this either. There's some wonderful therapy out there right now where they're actually taking their clients to the park and walking in the park. Um, but but we don't always need to dig, and especially in relationships, like I deal with the relationships. But he did this, but she did this, and it's like, okay, and that's in the past, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about that. We can't make it go bye-bye. They have said they're sorry, or they haven't, and the reality is we have to go forward. Now, in my case with my clients, most of them are separating. So it's not about the other one at all now. It's
No, you
about
live your
your
life.
choices. Yeah. Your choices, your mental thinking, the things you choose to do now.
Yeah, everyone lives their own life. Like I said earlier, I can't eat for you. I can't sleep for you. I can't do anything for you. You have to do that yourself. I can help you to see what you need to do, and to actually take that step, if depending on what it is, but I can't do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as we start to come to a close here, Dr. Annika. I know that all of your information, where they can find you on the platforms and everything, is going to be linked in the notes, the show notes below. But can you tell people how they can get a hold of you? I mean, here we're in the States and you work with people all over the world, just like I do. So how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I think the easiest way is to go to my website, and you see that on the here, askdrannika.com, because there is a page for connect or contact or whatever it's called. and in there you can just write what's it about, very simple first lines, and where you are, and if there are any specific things you need me to know, just as a start, and then I will always answer personally.
Yeah, and then you mentioned something about courses earlier, or I mentioned them in
Yeah,
your.
I am in the process of making an online course that is going to be my it's oh, right now I can't even remember the name of it. Clear Mind Leadership
Ah, that's cool.
for business people. Anyone can do it because it's the same. Like I said, stress is part of our biology, and it doesn't matter who we are. We have the same system. If we are black, red, green, yellow, brown, white, whatever, if we are tall, short, boys, girls, anything in between, it doesn't matter because we all have the same system. So anyone can do it. It is, but it's set for business people.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
And that goes through all what I very briefly mentioned here. The first part is mindset, and the second is taking care of your body, and then the third part is taking care of the life around you, and in most of the cases is the business part we talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah. And from a business point of view, I could take that even though I'm a one-man band basically thing. I work with other groups of people, but anything that can help us. And I can tell our viewers that Dr. Annika is I mean, obviously she's got the medical knowledge and she can help with that and how the stress connects with problems like I was talking about skin eruptions and stuff. And so go to her website,
Yeah,
ask askdrannika.com. Go to her website, and I'm sure, right, that when you finish these courses, they'll be able to access them from your website too.
absolutely, absolutely.
Great, great.
Yeah, you
So,
can read more about who I am and why, what I do.
and that's a great, I mean, it's all right there. So that's a perfect place for them to go. So, a little bit about me, as we talked about in the beginning, I'm a certified divorce coach, meaning that I'm trained in the complexities of divorce. I've also dealt with abuse in my marriage. My father and my late husband were also abused. My father almost murdered in a relationship. So, not only do I know the knowledge of divorce from my books, I also know it because I've been through it. So you can reach me through my email at coachtinalyn@gmail.com. That's CoachTinaLynn @gmail.com. You can find me on my website also at divorcecoachspecialist.com. You can also find me on social media, Facebook under Tina Lynn Huggins, Huggins, LinkedIn under Tina Huggins, Instagram under Divorce Coach Tina Lynn, TikTok under Divorce Tina. So one of the things that I think is super important here, Dr. Annika, is can you give our viewers a little bit of a last minute tip right here?
Don't complicate it. That's kind of my baseline in life. Go back to basics. Look how it is now without judgment, and start from there, because that's the best place where you can actually go and find your best life. Don't look back, and don't try to look forward in the sense that you fear whatever, because most of the things we fear in the future will never happen. go to the now and see, this is where I am. Where am I heading?
And I love that. I think that, I've helped people get into AA programs, and one of the things that they talk about in AA is not to forward think too far, just to think about this moment a little bit further out and try and stay sober. And in the case with what you just said, Dr. Annika, you don't want to think so far out there that fear then drives you back into the stress that you're dealing with. So I love that bit of information. And so my advice to our viewers is don't let your stress sit there. Do something, find help, get a hold of Dr. Annika, go to her website, at least read stuff, even just getting books on how to deal with stress. Get your sleep, eat properly, get the physical activity, and spend some wonderful laughter time and time with your friends, just like Dr. Annika has said. The most important part for me to tell you is don't let the stress sit there, because it'll eventually cause disease. So please take care of the stress levels now before they get to be too bad. So many people, including myself, going through stress and difficult times such as divorce, find ourselves with the thoughts of suicide. Please, please reach out. You can reach out here to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988 here in the States. In the Netherlands, it's 113. And get the support that you need for that time frame. And then if you are in need of a police officer right now, some form of domestic violence or something, here in the States, it's 911. In the UK, it's 999. And in the Netherlands, it's 112. Once the police get there, press charges. The charges are your key out of a very difficult and abusive relationship. Once you drop those charges, the abuse that will happen after you drop the charges is in many cases much worse than the abuse beforehand. Take that time and start heading towards the divorce at this point. This is the safest time that you can go for the divorce. Set the charges, keep the charges, and move forward. If you or somebody you know is dealing with domestic violence, please call the domestic violence hotline at 800-799-7233. That number again is 800-799-7233. And I ask you to please like, comment, and share this to help others. And Dr. Annika, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a fun call and talk. Even though we are talking about serious stuff and so on, you have to kind of look at life from the bright side. It's going to be so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, thank you so much. And now we'll let you take your space and go lay down so you can rest and heal. Thank you.
Thank you.